everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. I submitted to talk about SUSI AI and open source voice interface. And luckily, the core developers of this project are also here today. We did not know that he would be able to make it. So I take this opportunity to invite him here and also the two of the founders here so that we can have a conversation together, which is more interactive. Instead of me present the project as a community outreach, we have more insight of the project. So we're gonna start now. A little bit about myself. My name is FOSDEM. I came from Vietnam. I'm one of the contributors of FOSDEM. I'm currently working in Berlin, but regularly travel to Singapore and other countries in Asia. I am in the SUSI AI project. I'm one of the community outreach, go out to talk to tell people about how cool the project is and what we want to do with SUSI. And something personal, I like swimming and I like to teach people how to swim. And here next to me, I have Mario Belling. He can introduce himself.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, my name is Mario. So I lived many years in Asia, and I also helped to get the FOSDEM community started. And for many years, I'm sharing an interest in search engines, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later. And that's how I met Michael, who is the founder of Yassi.net and the great coder behind it. So that was many years ago. When was that, Michael?
One of the first FOSDEM when I was there.
Before?
Yeah, in the 0 years somewhere, in the late 0 years.
Yeah, so I'm glad that we are invited here and great to see many people interested.
So my name is Michael Christen, and as Mario said, I created Yassi peer-to-peer web search, and this is big data and distributed systems, which I did. Large-scale data systems, organizing data, and so on. So SUSI was just the next step to follow up with the idea of search engines, but we will hear about this in detail. So I'm doing the core architecture of SUSI, and I'm happy to be here to help now.
Okay, so what exactly is SUSI AI? In the past, this is even before I was born, people already imagined how they can communicate with the computer via voice, and they turn their wish into movies and series. And we can see in Star Trek how they try to communicate through a mouse with the computer. So what happened these days? We are now be able to talk to our phone and devices. So, and the thing that you can see a lot these days in the market, the very cute speakers, but they label it smart speakers. So why it says smart speakers? In the past, the speakers is a device that produce audio output so that you can listen to some music. Smart speakers mean that now not only you listen to the music, but the device are able to listen to you and be able to perform some kind of action or to answer your question or do some kind of task on your behalf. So as we can see, most of devices out there are dominated by major tech player, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and some big Chinese provider like Xiaomi or Korean producer Samsung. And we haven't found any free and open source personal assistant that being introduced in this field up to now. This is the slide that I saw in a lot of presentations about conversational web. The researcher mentioned that next year, 75% of the US population will own a smart speaker. And this is a really big market. And you can imagine that within a year from now, you'll be able to switch to any devices. You can switch to your phone, your laptop, or you have a car. You can even switch to your car. You can come in and tell the system to turn on the light for you. Isn't it cool? No? But what is the side effect of this? So when we have all the devices connected via a network, we'll be able to control our lives and every single item or object around us? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It has always been a big debate in the market, right? And some of you may have seen already this article on CNN about the Google Home and the eavesdropping action. How the device actually listens to your conversation and transfer it to the central system. To respond to this, Google said that they already deactivated the function, but we never know. So this is only one case that being published on the news, but there's also many other providers. So our concern is that what's going to happen with our data in the future where everything is connected. And it was also the motivation why we want to build SUSI AI. We need a free and respecting privacy system, personal assistant. That was the answer for the question, what is SUSI AI? How did we start the project in the beginning? So this is the team. This is the team behind SUSI AI. We already have so lucky that we have everyone here today. We also have hundreds of developers from everywhere, from India, from Vietnam, many different places in Asia, and some coming from Europe. But unfortunately, we cannot bring 100 people here on stage, even though we would like to thank every single one of them. Just a little bit about the background of SUSI. So it originally started by Michael, the creator of Yasi.net. And maybe, I don't know, anyone here using Yasi.net? One person. Wow, so good. So how about we take the opportunity to explain to people a little bit about Yasi. What is the difference between Yasi and Google? Sure.
Yeah. So this is the basic, this slide points out the difference between centralized search and decentralized search. So if you have, and connected with the question, what is distributed? So a search engine like every large-scale search engine, Google, Bing, and everything else, they are distributed because they have a lot of servers, and the task is distributed to all these servers, but they are not decentralized, they are centralized. So a distributed system which is centralized. And what I wanted to do is to switch from distributed, not decentralized system to a distributed and decentralized system. So take all these computers apart and make a big network out of it and control all this data with a peer-to-peer network. So it's like file sharing, but it doesn't share files, it shares indexes.
Another project that share substantial amount of code together with the SUSI AI, which is another project called Locklac. In FOSDEM, we have been working for several years on the social media data engine Locklac. Again, this one was started by Mario and Michael in 2014 at the kiosk at the CCC. We could not find a Okay, so at this time at the CCC 2014, we could not manage to find a big data source to play with, so we start the LogLog project. So the idea of LogLog project is to harvest social media data to play around with. And from the data, so we collect altogether 2 billion tweets from Twitter, and then when we have a huge amount of time, we were thinking, so what we can do with it. So we start to index the data and make sure. So instead of having the normal search box, we also try to see if we can create question and get a reasonable answer from these data. And that was also the start of SUSI AI project. Okay, so another thing that we realize here, so we have the Google Home and Alexa Echo at home also, so we try to test it and see what we can do with the device, because we at the moment build SUSI. What we realize is that whenever you have a question to ask the device, every few months it will give you a different answer, and you will not be able to perform some task that you were able to perform 2 months ago. For instance, over Christmas this year, I tried to ask Google Home to play some Christmas music, which was possible last year, but this year it's asked me to sign up for a premium account on Spotify in order to search for my song. And it's really tricky. Somehow, if you also just open the browser on your laptop, you'll be able to display the music from YouTube, but it's not possible on the speakers. And this is also the reason why we think that it's important to have a smart speaker that is, provide transparency and the information that provide you the freedom, the choice of listen to what you want to hear, instead of somebody push the information into you based on some kind of partnership with the provider. What are the expectations from a smart assistant? So it's mentioned that besides playing music, what else that we can do? What kind of business domain that we can tap in with SUSI AI? Maybe you can say a little bit.
So I think there are many different things that we could do with a smart speaker, and we can look at like search engines, how they do this today. So actually, if you use search engines years ago, there was always like a list of websites with links to, but nowadays we see many answers already. And you are a search engine expert, Micha, so maybe you could tell us a bit about your experience. What do you see, how has it changed over the years now? What do we get as an output to questions we ask to search engines?
The first step which was observable was semantic enrichment, like another display of more information about a topic. But now if you try to search at Google with a complete sentence, then Google gives an answer in a complete sentence, or with a complete list of what you have to, like if you ask about cooking, it's like you get a recipe, and you don't need to click on a search result. You actually get, here's the example. If you ask for how to cook spaghetti, then of course you get a search result, but not as the first hit. In the beginning you get a complete answer. You don't need to go to the web page anymore. So Google is starting giving direct answers to direct questions. So this makes it visible how the steps from the web search is going to a smart speaker. You already have this on the web page in a search result. You don't need the web anymore to get answers. So in the future, if the next generation will not recognize anymore that there are search results, that you can go to a web page, you just get direct answers. So it's obvious that the interface should change, and should change only to giving direct answers to your questions.
And yeah, not just answers, also actions. So for example, like it's possible to play songs directly or to play videos directly. Yeah, for example, an output that we were thinking also is charts or diagrams. So any kind of media could be performed by yeah, voice, or by voice can also be like your TV could have a voice interface and show screens as well. You could also imagine that you control AR, VR. So it's just a normal user interface.
So the next slide would be a lot of people actually come to us. They try out SUSI online and they said, okay, this is not working and what we want to do. People don't believe that we can build something that can compete with a major tech player. So what are the opportunities out there? Is it something that's feasible, that's possible to make an open source personal assistant, or it is just an idea for fun? But we do not do it for fun. We really want to make it possible, and then we do believe that it will happen. So whenever people ask that if it's open source, it's not gonna be successful, then we would give the example of Wikimedia. What is the biggest dictionary now? Most people use Wikimedia. It show this is some of the motivation. We believe that with the power of the community, we can make things happen. And we are here to share our idea, and we hope that people would join up with us with the same vision and same belief that we can build something that relates Alexa or Google Home. This is another example of a successful open source project, WordPress. I don't think, and of course Linux, we don't need to talk further. There's plenty of successful open source projects out there, and we believe that SUSI could be one of those. Again, with the power of the community, I think that we definitely have the possibility to achieve amazing things. And the goal of SUSI is to use this power to build machine that can answer all the questions that people could think of. Our advantage today is because a lot of people working on the field, there are already a lot of questions available out there through the huge data set of the World Wide Web. And we can also use the dynamic web content and tap into open APIs or JSON web services. All these data enable us to provide content for our system, and for the answer and response of SUSI, for instance, you can call an external API on weather and answer all the questions related to weather forecast, for instance. So our approach to build the entire ecosystem that makes us engage a lot of people in the community to build different clients for SUSI, and also like different components, and running the service in the different ways. So there are a lot of challenges out there, but whatever decision we take, what we want to do is to give the user a choice to limit the storage of personal data on the cloud. So what is the progress of the project? What kind of components already available in the SUSI AI? So right now in front of us, I have the SUSI smart speaker prototype. So this is a very simple prototype built with the Raspberry Pi microphone and the speaker head. So basically, it only plays one task, which is have you to play the music. The reason why we want to do this is we want to have a prototype to show people that it's possible to do something with open source. And majority of the people who own the device, they only use the device to play music. This is the majority interaction of the user based on some research this day.
So what specific should I say about the device? So we wanted to make it easy that everybody can rebuild this thing. So we didn't put on special hardware or something which is difficult to get. So this is just a Raspberry Pi 3, and for 10 euros microphone head. We did a lot of experiments with microphones, USB microphones, and it didn't work very well. So 10 euros for, there are two microphones on it. It's called Reseat 2 microphone head. Reseat? Seat? Oh, yeah, the company is called Reseat. Seat Studio. Oh, sorry, I messed it up. But if you can ask us, and there's also, it's in the documentation what we use. So all design parts are, of course, available as open source, and this small piece of 3D design also as well. We have a Raspbian version. We forked the Raspbian repository and made our own Raspbian version with our software. It's called SUSI, and it's built automatically, and you can put it on the SD card and it runs then the device.
So I think a challenge here is that a lot of people in the community, they have knowledge about software. But our experience is also that not everything can be solved with software only. For example, there's always the question of the hot words here. So a hot word to activate a device. And our experience is like if you have a very good microphone, then it works much better than, let's say, with a cheap microphone. But of course, the goal is to keep the price of the hardware that is needed to build an open source assistant below $100, yeah, or 100 euros. So this is a challenge that we are facing, and yeah, we are continuing the conversation with hardware developers here. And yeah, if anyone has any knowledge, we're happy to learn from them how they solve these challenges.
This is what Michel and Mario already mentioned. And something that another thing that we already implement, we have the Android and iOS client for SUSI, so you can actually download the app on the App Store and try to test our SUSI, test the system. Another thing, we also have a web client. So on the web client, it's also ready. It's built with React.js, and it supports most of the action types, including what Mario mentioned earlier: images, audio, video, map, table, charts. And yeah, we also want to encourage more users to join us and test the existing action types that are available out there. And another thing that we already implemented, we have another desktop client using the Electron framework. Why do we use Electron framework? It allows the development of desktop code application using components originally developed from the web. And this is something that we are really happy about, and also very proud of the skills CMS. So what is a skill? A skill is a drawer or a set of drawer that produce answer for question. Yeah. If you have experience in building skill with Alexa, you will see that our skill CNF looks very similar. It have a good interface and also very easy to use. Why is it easy to use? In other services, in order to write a skill or to create a rule or a set of rules, you need to know a specific set of programming language. But for SUSI, you don't have to. Yeah, it doesn't matter which programming language that you use. We invented something called the language of thought, with very simple and easy, like the wiki style. So you can create your skill within a few minutes instead of have to go back and learn Java or Python. We also, so the core of the SUSI come from SUSI AI server. I think, Michelle, later on you can explain a little bit about the language of thought, how you started this idea in the beginning. Yeah. SUSI server provide output in the JSON file. Yeah, is it the yeah, so this is a complete picture of the infrastructure of the project. So we have SUSI server in the middle, and then the console service, system component, and different clients that being implemented already. Besides what I mentioned already, the Android app, iOS web app, desktop application, we also build many extensions for the browser. So it's available on the Chromium Firefox, and we also build one extension for the Magic Mirror project, if any of you familiar with that project. So the Magic Mirror, you stay in front of the mirror, and it will tell you your personal profile and your interests. And we also implement many multiple messenger bots for services like Facebook, like GitHub, Viber, Slack, and Telegram. And the community continue to create more messenger bots on this. So, yeah. What is the technology stack behind SUSI? So I think, yeah, so we share the SUSI server. What is the technology? People, I understand that people are interested to build the client, but they always come and ask a question about the server. How does SUSI run in the back?
So the SUSI server is implemented in Java software. It's a server which accepts requests containing the string that the person, the user, has spoken or typed in, and it responds with a JSON object. So it's actually really easy. It doesn't mean that you have to program in Java if you want to make a skill. As Hong Fook said, the language of thought is really easy, and it's understandable. It's not programming, but we don't know. You don't need to know something about the server if you want to use the skills or program skills. So this is just the typical Java stack. The other, yeah, this is like a normal full stack application. So the front end is implemented in HTML, and we are using yeah, the Java front end is no, not Java. The HTML front end is in the application front end and in the web front end. So Android is native Java or Kotlin, and this is just a normal technology. Interestingly, we don't know so much about the background information how other smart speakers are implemented. So there's nothing where we can copy some behavior from, and this is very similar to the other search engine projects that I made before. So it's a lot of things are search engine related, like scraping a search result from YouTube to get a list of possible movies that we can play as music. So. Yeah, this is another component which we need in the smart speaker. So we always need the answer from the SUSI server backend to have some intelligent answer with some knowledge inside. But to get there in a device like this, we first have to do speech to text, and after we get an answer, we must do text to speech. So right now we are using the best opportunities from a technology standpoint which we get. Which is Google speech to text and text to speech. Of course, this project is also about privacy, so actually we shouldn't do this. But this is an intermediate step until we have something which can run on the device itself, which we would be happy to use. So there is a software like Pocket Sphinx to do speech to text, but it's not working so well and it's not good for demonstration. It's implemented in our client, but we are not using it for demonstration.
Yeah, I think this is an important point, but architecture-wise, we discussed this point several times, and so the implementation is done in a way that we can switch between different voice recognition services or solutions. So once we have enough data or better service, we can just switch to it immediately. And it's not always about the software, it's also about the data. For example, CMU Sphinx or other projects. The question is, do you have like a good language set in this software solution? And we had companies and projects that ask us, for example, to collaborate on this and develop new implementations for new languages. So that's something that we could also collaborate with other projects.
And once we have a device which can operate completely offline, we will get much more applications possible, like in security environments, like in medical applications or other applications where you shouldn't be dependent from other systems and should be complete and independent. It is also a very big privacy thing.
So yeah, I find this point what you just mentioned with the offline very, very important. Yeah, because okay, once we have many people in Asia, they don't always have like good access to the internet, and actually it's also the case in Germany that not everyone has always good access to the internet. But like also from the privacy standpoint, I mean, why should I contact or like? Why should I ask my cloud service to switch on my local music player and play my private music library? Why do I have to connect to the cloud to do that? I don't have to do that. So one thing that we are working on is like only connect to the cloud if you really need it. And secondly, if you're not connected to the internet, then like try to support as much as possible offline. So even if people say, oh, I want the awesome voice online from this service, or when it's offline, it could still maybe have like the basic voice or something like that implementation, or it could have basic services. So this is really an important goal in this project, that as much as possible should work offline, and people who don't want to share their data with cloud services, they don't have to share their data, or they don't have to share any cloud information, or they trust a service, and this service could delete the data potentially.
Okay, so I would like to go back to what we mentioned earlier, the language of thoughts, how to make skill with SUSI skill CMS. Okay, so basically this is the interface of skill, and there are already a lot of skills written by the community available on the website. If you want just to inspect some of the action type, you can just go there and look at the website, and then we're gonna do not really the demo. We're gonna show you quickly how to how you can create a skill. Okay, so before you create a skill, for people who don't have a knowledge in this yet and who want to try out themselves, so we implement something called explain and analyze. And this is we got inspired by the Westworld series. I think that people are aware of, you've seen this series, right? Oh, yeah, raise your hand if you have seen this. Okay, so most of you. So we don't have to explain in the... Okay, so basically, the analyze is a debugging system. When, let's say, a robot or a personal assistant give you the answer, then you ask us a question where actually the answer come from. So this is what happened in Westworld, and we implemented similar thing. So when you get the answer that you are not happy with, or you're curious where SUSI give you the answer, you can type in explain, and it will give you the answer of which data and which channel, how come they provide you the answer. And I think that's something, this is something that's really cool. So you can inspect like different components and different code that that make up this skill. So at the moment, I think that you can type explain and analyze, right? Yeah. And then another layer is, so after they give you the explain of the skill, you ask again the same question. So explain again, what is that previous skills come from? How far can it go on? Have you tried? Okay.
So it will explain where the explain skill is actually stored, and so people can analyze this explain skill, and in the visual interface you will have a link. So I think it's also, like, we're talking a lot about voice, but actually this is already something that is different to Alexa and Google. There is no Alexa chat where you can chat with Alexa through a UI, but for us, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the output from the server is a JSON file, and whatever client you implement, it can work. So here it's a visual client, but you could also have an audio-only client.
Okay, so this is to debug the answer. Yeah, and then how can you create a skill? So just to repeat again, a skill is a rule or rule set that produce answer to question. Very simple. So if you go to chat.susi.ai, and on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, you click on the burger, and then it will show skill. You need to log in, you need to create an account in order to create a skill. And so, as I mentioned before, if you look at Alexa, Siri, Cortana, or Google now, you need to have the knowledge either Java, Python, or C++ in order to write a skill. But you don't need that for SUSI AI. We have prepared a few examples for you, which we're going to present now. The first example, something very simple and easy, which is fix query and answer. So basically, if you run a business and you just want to create some kind of assistant that have a funny conversation with your user, as you see on the board, roses are red, SUSI is a hack. You can try. So the first sentence is the question, and the second sentence is the answer, which is how SUSI respond back to the user. And you can go on. If you have time, you can sit down and write like 1,000 lines of question and answer just to create something funny. And this is being done, I think, also in Alexa with many skills. So fix question and answer. And another type of skill, which is random answer and question. So you can define random answer for a specific question. In this case, what is your favorite dish? And you can already define what do you want SUSI to answer or in the system. And it also reverse on the other way. So you can provide one answer for different questions that being asked by the user. So in order to make it close to the effective output, the more question that you create here, the closer it gets to the answer. Why cars? Mr. This is the pattern. You want to continue with the pattern?
So now we have seen two simple examples of the SUSI skill language, which it looks like simply text. Now it gets more into more details, which look more like programming. So what we did is a language which is so simple that you actually don't think this is a programming language. It's like we wanted to have a disruptive situations, like when the Wikipedia came, it was easy to write content because you just write text. And before the Wikipedia, you had to, if you wanted to make a web page and wanted to make content, you have to write HTML, which is not for everyone. So this is the same with our skill language. You're not doing programming anymore. You're just writing down the sentences, and it you have seen only the most simple examples. Now it gets more complex. So the star is just a placeholder where you can put in anything. Next. So more examples where you can use this, and you can fill in the content which had matched with the star and use it in the sentence again. So this is basically what was also invented with ELIZA more than 30 years ago. So not really sophisticated, but that's the beginning of the story. Next. You can have some, you can trigger some memory. So if you use this creator symbol, you can store it in a variable and use the content of the variable afterwards. So SUSI is able to have a memory of what was in the chat history. Next. Yeah, this is an example where I can use random answers for getting the result from something called function color. It's not actually a function definition, but it's just a helper method which explains what's reflection in SUSI. So SUSI can use a SUSI skill to fill in some part of its answer. And in this case, SUSI is trying to find a color which it likes. And if you ask it the first time, it takes a random color. And if you ask it a second time, it remembers what it took before and prints out the same thing. So in the second intent, you see here, what is your favorite color? It decides, is the color set? Then it prints out my favorite color is the color which is set. Or if it's not set, it's saying I like, and then the reflection takes part function color, and it's stored in the variable color. So it remembers this the next time. Yeah. So if you want to embed JavaScript, you can use that bang symbol to have some scripting inside. We are planning to do more scripting languages inside, most interestingly like Prolog or other languages which are popular. Next. And this is finally what is most important to get information from other web pages. So if you want to have content from another web page, like a sports page, and you could discover that this page has a JSON API and you get information from the JSON API, you can use that JSON API. So the most simple thing is to mention only two things from that external API, and that it's the URL itself, and another thing is the JSON path. So that's a declaration you do with that so-called console rule. It's using one URL and a path to the JSON object, which is called articles. At articles, you find a search result list, and the first hit is then given in the answer line, which is the title and the URL. So results lists are very important in SUSI because using backtracking, and that's a concept from logical programming, using backtracking we could use alternative answers. So SUSI is able to think about possible results.
How to create a private SUSI chatbot, and this is something that's very simple. Again, you do the same interface, to go to chat.susi.ai, and instead of create a skill, you can create a chatbot, and you can easily follow the 4 steps of how to create a chatbot and integrate it into your own website.
I think the interesting thing for chatbot, so what is the difference between a chatbot and a skill? So a chatbot is a private skill, basically, yeah. And originally we had the idea to make everything open. Yeah, let's make people like open source as much as possible, but there are maybe private APIs or keys that people use to access web services, and that is a reason why, yeah, chatbot could be good, and also you can embed it on your website. So you can click on JavaScript code, for example, and yeah, go through it. Maybe, yeah, let's go through the steps. Okay. So for example, here is also another interesting feature. If you have a chatbot, then you want your chatbot to look like maybe like your website or like your favorite design. So you could, for example, add a picture or change the color, add your own little icon or your own picture for the answers. So all that is possible here. And yeah, there is a small icon there up there when you can try it out. So you can switch to a visual view or code view. Yeah, so both is possible, just like in HTML. Then the next step is that we're adding options. For example, limit a chatbot only to a certain website or to a number of certain websites, and yeah, include SUSI AI skills. So there are many default skills in SUSI AI. If you don't want them, if you want the chatbot only communicates what you tell SUSI AI in your skill, then you can limit that as well. And yeah, of course, there are many more features that we could imagine. Yeah, in the final step, you simply copy a small piece of code and put it in your HTML page, and then you'll have SUSI AI on your own website.
How to build SUSI smart speaker. I think that we're running out of time, and I think Michelle already explained in the beginning how we build a speaker. Should we show the? No. Do we still have time for video? Yes or no? Yeah. Yes. So. If you want to get involved and want to have to build an open source personal assistant, all of our development are open. You can find information on the FOSDEM GitHub, and there is a video how to make the speakers also on Thingiverse. If you want to connect with us, we have a SUSI GitHub channel. Our developers are there. Basically, you can always get an answer from the community. It's just answer from the board. We are working on it. But yeah, so we need to collect more answer from the community to be able to. Yeah, but it is a good idea. Yeah, but some people, the reason why they join the open source community, they want to interact with other people. So this is the wrap up of our presentation. There's so many areas that SUSI AI want to conquer, like server, desktop, browser, mobile, tablet, and many more. So, but we all know that open always wins. So the next thing for us is to have a SUSI as a solution and offer services around SUSI. And we hope that you join our development and get in touch with us so that we can build the open conversational web together. And if you have any idea or you are aware of any project out there already that are doing similar thing, please connect them with us. One more thing. So in March this year, 14 to 17, they're going to be our 10th anniversary of the FOSDEM Summit. If you happen to be in Singapore, please join us. Many of the SUSI developers will be there. We have dedicated to workshop where we work on this and fixing bugs, improving the system. So check out our website 2019.FOSDEM.org if you want to meet us in Singapore. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would also like to take this chance to thank you, the organizer and the volunteers, for making the video and having us here today. Thank you very much for your hard work.